Hi, I'm Greg Watkins, Executive Director of the British Chamber of Commerce, Thailand. 2021 is BCCT's 75th anniversary, and one of the things we're doing to celebrate the anniversary is to reach out and reconnect with some of the people who made BCCT what it is today. And it's my great pleasure today to introduce Simon Makinson. Simon joined the BCCT board in 1991, and he was Vice Chair from 1993 to 1997. And during this time, he was partner at three different companies, Denton Hall Bergen & Warrens, SGVN Legal and Tax, and MPS and Associates. So a very, very warm welcome, Simon, and tell us a little bit about your time on the BCCT board.
Yeah, well, it was an interesting time, and it was really useful, I have to say. I joined relatively soon after I got to Thailand, and having joined lots of chamber events beforehand, and then I joined the board within 18 months, I think, of arriving in Thailand. And it was a fantastic way to meet a lot of people, a lot of the senior British and other businessmen at the time, not just in the British community, but also there was a very active inter-chamber working group, which I had the privilege to be on and actually chair for a while. So it was a really good way of meeting people, of getting the businesses connected together, and really, I think, doing something useful in terms of what we were supposed to be doing as a chamber to encourage business, not just for British companies, but with other nationalities as well, and particularly, obviously, with Thailand.
What's your enduring memory of that time?
Well, I think I've probably got two. One of which was very shortly after I joined the board. We had a coup, and then we got the Anand 1 government, and I was actually chairman of the Joint Chambers working group at the time, and we were asked by the Anand government to come up with some suggestions as to laws that could be changed, which would facilitate doing business in Thailand, which I guess people are still asking the same questions because the same laws are still there. But the one I was particularly tasked with was taking forwards was amendments to what was then called the Alien Business Law, now the Foreign Business Law. And my abiding memory is having to go to appear before a Thai Parliamentary Select Committee in order to be grilled about my suggestions, or the Chamber's suggestions, that we should actually get rid of the Alien Business Law in its entirety. Obviously, we weren't successful because it's still there, but I have to say, going into the Lion's Den was really not a very pleasant experience. The looks I was getting from all the members of the committee were sort of somewhat like they thought I was an alien. And then I guess the second one was really how I became the vice chairman within a relatively short period of time of joining the committee, and that was really just a fault of the British Chamber rules, because at the time the rules of the Chamber said that both the chairman and the vice chairman had to be British nationals, and it turned out after the election that there were only two British nationals on the board, which was Brian Baldwin and myself. So Brian Baldwin, naturally being the most senior, became chairman, and I, by default, became vice chairman.
I mean, I guess Thailand is still home for you, but you've been in Hong Kong for a while. How has Thailand changed since that time, if we go back those 25, 30 years?
Oh, I think it's changed. It's changed enormously. It was never backwards. It was always a comfortable place to live. But you've only got to look at the infrastructure on the streets, the mass transit, the shopping centres, and Thailand has really done a great job. Lots of people are always criticising Thailand, but actually, it has continued to grow, and it's been through some really tough times. We had the 1997 crisis, which was really tough. Although I have to say, at the end of the day, I think that was one of the seminal events that really changed how Thai businesses operated, and it really sort of opened people's eyes that people needed to modernise. people needed to turn up to meetings on time. Before 97, it was at least 45 minutes after the start of the meeting before most people arrived. After 97, people generally started to turn up. So I think Thailand has gone an enormously long way. It's still unequal in the sense that there's lots of poor people and there's few rich people, but actually there's a huge middle class now, particularly in Bangkok, and I think the quality of education, again, people complain about that, has actually got better, and the people, the Thais who are working for all the international companies and Thai companies are so much more international. English language is much more spoken. There's always things to do, but it's been a huge change in the last 30 years.
Tell us a little bit about what you're doing these days.
So I'm based here in Hong Kong now. I've been here for about 6 years. In my usual way, I came for 6 months and haven't left, which is exactly what I did when I went to Thailand. I went for 6 months and stayed there for 20 plus years. I don't expect I'll be 20 plus years in Hong Kong, but I'm basically doing a lot of work with my current firm, Allen and Overy, which I've been with now actually for 20 years, and particularly helping on an expansion project that we're involved in China. So pre-COVID, I was traveling up to either Shanghai or Beijing on a pretty much weekly basis, and helping to build out our operations in China, which, from a strategic point of view, we see as absolutely key, that we need to be bigger in what is second biggest market in the world, will soon become the first biggest market in the world.
Sure. I mean, that segues quite nicely onto the next question, is how you see Thailand's role in the post-COVID world.
Well, I mean, Thailand, it's in Southeast Asia, it's a sort of relative beacon of stability, I would say. It has very good infrastructure. It has gone, it's always done well in terms of attracting foreign investment. And I think that it will continue to play its part in that. I think with the US-China tensions that you've got, which are not going to go away anytime soon, you're going to see that decoupling. You're already seeing the decoupling, and people are looking to diversify their interests into China-based supply systems and rest of the world-based systems. And I think Thailand is well placed to take advantage of that. It needs to be careful. You've got sort of Vietnam next door, which is sort of doing extremely well, I have to say, in terms of attracting business. And so it's got, Thailand has a natural role there. People like being in Thailand. It's got a good workforce, and it needs to continue to upgrade itself. And I guess the other thing I think is just on big Thai businesses. You've seen a huge change there. They've gone from being essentially national businesses to being international businesses, and you've got some really sort of top class, world class firms in Thailand, which are building up big sort of infrastructure around the world. You've got CP Group, you've got Thai Union, you've got Central. All those are becoming truly international companies these days. I
mean, from my perspective, I see Japan's influence here slowing down somewhat, and those big Thai corporates, as you said, have such strong familial links with China. I mean, do you see an increasing presence of China and Chinese businesses here in Thailand?
That's a good question, isn't it? I mean, I think it probably, there is a sort of more natural affinity with China because of lots of the families have Chinese origins. I think that the Chinese, yes, will continue to expand and to do more in Southeast Asia in general. I mean, the sort of the big sort of push at the moment is for the big Chinese tech firms, the sort of Tencents and of this world and others, Alibabas of this world, to expand into Southeast Asia, and Thailand will inevitably be one of the countries where they will come.
Tell us a final question. Tell us what your favourite place is in Thailand, and what's your favourite thing or favourite things to do.
Oh, well, the two fortunately sort of coincide. So I'd have to say that my favourite place in Thailand is the Royal Varuna Yacht Club down in Jomtien. And my favourite occupation, apart from eating and drinking, is sailing.
Fantastic. Well, that's a nice link. We're having our annual multi-chamber Christmas party at the Royal Varuna Yacht Club on Friday the 17th of December. So I'm conscious you're in quarantine now. You might not be back in Thailand then unless Hong Kong releases its 3-week quarantine period. But I hope you can join us.
Yeah, sadly I won't make it, but please say hi to Baz and everybody else down at the Varuna. I haven't been back for 2 years now, but definitely going to get to Thailand next year.
Well, thanks for your time, Simon. It's been great reconnecting, and we'll wish you all the best there. And don't be a stranger when you come back. You've plenty of good friends here.
Yeah, really good to talk to you, Greg. And yeah, let's follow up on your idea of a Zoom call with all the old boys. It will be fun.
Fantastic. Thanks, Simon.
All right. Thanks, Greg.